Welcome to this program called Ukobo Initiatives with Sekou Ba Jehudi Amanai. Today's lecture is on It Takes a Whole Village to Raise a Child. I'm going to begin our lecture on It Takes a Whole Village to Raise a Child by explaining some of the concepts. I put these videos together to help the community understand some basic concepts that seems to often be misunderstood. The emphasis in this presentation is that the village must be whole, okay? Doesn't mean that it takes a lot of people, okay? If the village is degraded, if it is corrupt, if it is weakened, then it is very difficult to raise a child. Now, why is this? Because I'm going to explain this word Ukobo. Start off with the word Ukobo. Ukobo means essence. It is a Bantu word which means essence. If you have lost your essence, then your village is no longer whole. If the people in the village do not have their essence, then they're not whole. So often we think it's all about just, we got a lot of people, so we're going to be able to raise this child. Okay? But that's not true. Because in our village, or your community today, we got a lot of people, but we're having problems raising our children. We've got corruption, greed, lust, violence. Now, these are all conditions that represent people or community that is degraded. Okay? So when we hear that term, we generally have a very simplified version of what it means. Now, if these are problems that are not in your community, then maybe you do have a whole village. But what I'm saying is, most often not, that's not the case. People are faced with corruption, greed, lust, and violence. So first of all, we have to focus on how to make the village whole. We have to return once again to to our essence. And the essence of African people, when they know true self, is that they become very spiritual. But right now, in the 21st century, our spiritual traditions have become degraded. And when the spiritual traditions become degraded, the people become dehumanized. Now, how did this occur? Because a lot of times our history begins with slavery. And slavery is a very degrading, dehumanizing, corrupting institution. I want you to think about that for a while. We are people who have experienced slavery. Okay? This is our entry into Western civilization. During that time, we lost our traditions, we lost our culture, we lost our spirituality. And we started practicing other people's religions. Okay? So first of all, or next, what I'm going to share with you is a concept from the Adinkra system. You've all heard Sankofa. It is, excuse me, it is not taboo to go back and fetch what you have forgotten. This is Sankofa. And Sankofa is a symbol from Ghana or West Africa called an Adinkra symbol. Okay? Now, Adinkra symbols represent a system of knowledge or information that you must learn before you say goodbye to this world, before you go back to the spiritual reality or the spirit world. As when you die, you need to know certain things. Now, one of the most important things that you need if you are a people who have suffered through slavery is that you need to once again develop your natural systems of support and protection. So another important symbol in the Adinkra symbols is called Ni Ame Dua. Niame Dua is the altar of And why is this so important? Because the altar of God represents protection. And not only protection, the presence of God. Where? In your home. So this Niame Dua, altar, allows you to glorify God. Now, there's a saying that God glorifieth those that glorify God. We forgot this message. So the first thing that we need to do to make the village whole is we have to put our altars back in our home. Right now we have to go somewhere else to become under the protection of God and to feel the protection of God. It's churches, and they're generally down the street, round the corner, round the block, somewhere else. But at one time, the altar was in your home. That's pre-slavery. When you were a free African, your altar was in your home. So that's where we're beginning with. And as we teach people about it takes a whole village to raise a child. Now there are certain things that you need for your altar. You need a candle. You need incense. You need a dish or container for water. Okay? Because this allows you to do something that we call libation or offerings